Hey folks, I'm gonna be recording from inside the car today because we have some crazy winds out today, and yeah, it's cold, or at least it's chilly. It's colder than normal, and my last few days here, I've been posting. We've had some high 60s, mid 70s, some great temperatures, and just enjoying this lovely Northwest Florida weather on the Emerald Gulf Coast. But today is not the same, folks. So we had a little bit of rain this morning and cooler temps, high winds. So I'm just going to be sticking it out here in the car with you guys. But I got some important information I need to share with you from my apartment complex, which ironically ties directly into this video, folks. Please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to bring you guys some really important information here. Please stick with me to the end so that you can clearly understand what I'm trying to share with you, as well as I may answer some questions that you may have along the way by the end of the video. And then, as always, if you have any questions beyond that, you can feel free to drop a comment down below or check the links in the description. My contact information is below. So let's just get right into it. Hollywood mobile home park tenants seek assistance amid shutdown. Now, why is this so important? Well, it says here that time is ticking for the people living at a St. Joseph County mobile home park to vacate their homes, and Hollywood Mobile Home Park is being cleared away to be prepared for sale. So, like I said, I'm recording here from my apartment complex. We ended up re-signing a second lease or second year, and we weren't quite ready to purchase, which I think is good because I think that the housing market is still going in a direction that I want it to go as a buyer. And so we're going to stick it out here for at least another year and look to purchase later on at the closer towards the end of 2023. But I don't think that this is necessarily going to be the case for many moving forward. And then with that being said, the whole game changer of the rental market and the mobile home park and affordable housing opportunities and options is making a drastic change. And I want you guys to be well aware of what's happening. So let's go here to the next slide. And it says that even months after evictions, mobile home parks sit empty. Developers are MIA. I mean, the property made waves in the community when 10 families were served 45-day eviction notices in December 2021. And here we are, February 2023, and they're empty. They're vacant. Why? Obviously, like I told you guys before, it takes a while for plans to actually come to fruition through planning and design and bidding and development and construction. And there's a variety of reasons for that. We're definitely still in a labor crunch, labor shortage, labor crisis. But also with higher interest rates pushed by the Fed, it changes the way everything works. Trust me. Anybody who's been in real estate, been in construction, planning and development, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Anybody who's ever built their own home or anything, like, you guys know. Anybody who's ever ordered, anything custom made, you know what it takes to get it going. And we're talking about big, large ticket items as far as real estate development. We're talking about multi-million-dollar developments. But the crazy part about it is that these developments kick out the existing tenants. So 10 families were served eviction notices back in December of 2021. So that means all of 2022, where this land remained empty, developers are MIA, those people could have had somewhere to stay. They could have had somewhere to live. And the whole moving and uprooting of these families, particularly in mobile home parks, is very, very complex, very difficult, and very costly, which is what has a huge impact on the affordability aspect of a place to live, a place to stay, shelter, a roof over your head. Landlords push back on pro-tenant mobile home park bills. Bills would require advance notice of sales to help community ownership bids and extend eviction timelines. And this comes from the tenants wanting to initiate in purchasing their land for a tenant-owned mobile home park, basically. A lot of pushback there. Meanwhile, we can see here that Airbnb stock pops on Q4 earnings, okay? Up 9.8, up 8.11%. Airbnb extended hours here, making some strong moves here in the stock market. And like I said, folks, I would be personally investing to earn returns. And it's pretty easy to identify where the money's going and who's making the profits so that we can reap the benefits of their earnings, their revenues, and their growth. And the push that they enforce and they encourage in the markets. They have huge control, folks, okay? This BlackRock is everywhere, okay? That's all I can say, okay? These institutional investors, this money, people are, is there, it's happening behind the scenes, more to come. Airbnb stock pops on Q4 earnings. And look at this, Airbnb coming in hot. Earnings beat for the fourth quarter, and demand on Airbnb remains strong. Nights and experiences booked increased 20% in Q4. Can you imagine what Airbnb turned over just the other weekend for the Super Bowl? With folks traveling and renting out spaces for these Super Bowl parties. It's crazy, folks. But at the end of the day, what is that going to do? Is it going to take over the apartment complex that I'm in now? Probably not. But with the limited availability of properties to be purchased for ownership, for a traditional ownership instead of short-term rentals, it's going to further drive up the demand for apartment rentals. Vacancy will be reduced, if not eliminated. You'll be on a wait list in certain areas in certain cities as the apartments are actually making strides in increasing their quality, their amenities, their service, but also their price. So if we can see how strong Airbnb's numbers are, then we can obviously see that there's probably going to be a continuous push from investors of all sorts to continuously be in that space to, have an opportunity to capitalize on that market to gain those returns on investments through Airbnb short-term rental properties. And that means Airbnb can happen in high-rise condos too. It's not just single-family homes. It's not just townhomes and duplexes and triplexes and quadplexes. And it could actually probably even exist in mobile homes too. But again, they want to drive the revenues. They want the higher prices. So they're going to go with the amenities. They're going to go more upscale. So what does that mean? That means that rental opportunities of much more affordable housing, typically, previously, historically, more affordable housing options like mobile homes will be eliminated. And the land will be sold. Developers will come in. They will build up. And more than likely, they'll build up in a way that can further exploit the short-term rental market profitability. Now, check this out. This here says that a pair of Republican-sponsored bills intended to help mobile home park residents weather Montana's acute housing shortage drew opposition from park owners, real estate agents, and the Montana Landlord Association in their initial hearings Monday morning. Opposition. So it was a bill intended to help mobile home park residents, but it experienced opposition. So, folks, I'm just throwing it out there. If you're living in a mobile home community, mobile home park, you know anyone who does, please share this video with them. It's not looking good. I know there are times where it's not fair, and that's just life. I mean, and that's how they go about it, folks. That's how they feel. It's really what it should say is, I know there are times where it's not fair, but it's all about the money. It's basically what they're saying, okay? These tenants, a lot of times, aren't capable of doing the repairs needed in cleaning up the parks with the bad tenants in there, which is a fight and a push against the tenant and the pro-tenant ownership. They don't think that the tenants living in mobile home communities could be capable of maintaining mobile home communities. Parks owners and landlords also pushed back on the tenant protections bill, saying its provisions would make it harder for them to evict problematic tenants, stating that, reading between the lines here, that they expect problems out of mobile home tenants, basically. And what happens when you got a drug dealer or any other bad actors in a mobile home park? How do you get rid of them? It's their words, not mine, folks. This is from the Montana Landlords Association President John Sinrud. And yeah, so one, they're pushing back on tenants having the ability to potentially purchase if they had the financial means to, and then control these communities, which would then potentially further bring down the surrounding communities, because the ownership of these mobile home parks just don't have what it takes to maintain a higher level of standard. Much like, main reason why Steph Curry doesn't want these people building near his home. He don't want that. He don't want that in his backyard. Okay. Eviction warnings continue at 55 and older mobile home park. Property owner says it's the only option. I don't know, man. I think it's kind of jacked up when you're evicting 55 and older and it's the only option. There's got to be another option, right? Residents in Spanish Lakes golf community say that they are getting eviction notices. And this one resident, Bill Neal, has lived in the 55 and older mobile home park with his wife for the past 5 years. He and other residents received eviction notices for things like driveways that needed to be power washed, shutters that were left down, or the use of window air conditioned units. Neal, who is also the Homeowners Association president, told this news outlet that the HOA, Homeowners Association, believes Wine Building Corporation is creating new rules. So in addition to opposition, now granted, this is a completely different state, completely different board, but think about it like this. In addition to the opposition from some folks out there who would much rather prefer to have the ability to gain control of these properties and assume control of these properties and take over these properties and buy out these properties and evict these tenants, you have the flip side here. You've got these HOAs that are creating these new rules and using these new rules as ways to initiate and enforce eviction, and in this particular instance and situation, a 55 and up community. That's just kind of jacked up, if you ask me. He said that the eviction notices are posted after routine inspections. And you guys may have actually seen this, depending on where you live. You'll see a car riding around in your neighborhood taking photographs. That's usually the HOA and their minion out taking photographs and recording any and everything that could possibly be in violation for the reason of imposing a fine, number one. But it seems like these folks are going further and just forcing eviction instead of a fine, which is unbelievable. You may want to read in between the lines of the bylaws of your HOA, Homeowners Association agreement, because they actually have a lot of power that they really probably shouldn't have. And then in this particular situation, in this particular instance, if they don't, then what do? They create new rules. Now, 3 of the 5 HOAs sued the corporation previously because of an unjustified rent increase. Members of the HOA and the golf community believe the recent eviction notices are being given out of retaliation. Man, and there's not a large number of these homes that go to eviction, and we have to use the word eviction and the threat of eviction to kind of get people's attention. I mean, this is what they're saying. I don't know. This seems a little bit over and beyond, in my opinion, a little bit of overreach and abuse of power. What do you guys think? Meanwhile, South Congaree mobile home residents face evictions in closing parks, with a group of South Congaree mobile homes residents has a ticking clock for finding a new home. And this is not a good situation to be in, especially not now with the state of the economy, high levels of inflation, the shaky job market, unemployment happening left and right. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people losing their jobs. We're in a credit crunch where credit card usage is being maxed out. Unbelievable record highs, high interest rates on credit cards pushed by the Fed, Jerome Powell himself, jacking up interest rates, and a banking liquidity crisis as well, as they're planning on rolling out CBDC. And it says that in November, the South Congaree Town Council denied an appeal by landlord Naomi Halter to have her business license reinstated, and the vote required Halter to inform residents that they had 30 days to leave the 4 impacted mobile home parks. Now, this is interesting because this, again, ties into the power that these folks have that ultimately can put the pressure and squeeze out the little guy. And this is flat out just South Congaree Town Council denied an appeal to reinstate a business license, thus requiring the owner to evict the tenants from the mobile home park. So you may be in a mobile home park, your mobile home park could be top notch, but then the ownership, something happens to the ownership pisses off the wrong person in the city council, I don't know. They lose their business license and now they can't operate that mobile home park, which means that you have to move. It says that the council delayed implementation of the vote until January 31, effectively giving residents until March 2nd, 2023 to leave. So that's just like 2 weeks from now, folks. And Halter's license has been revoked since the summer after some properties were a drain on town resources and violating town ordinances. So here it says that basically what in my opinion, my interpretation is that these mobile homes are not good for our neighborhood. They're not good for property values. They're not good for taxes. They're not good for the growth, the revenue, and the profit. They got to go. No more business license. They got to go. Meanwhile, Halter was arrested for operating without a business license by allegedly renting out a mobile home park, which, again, I've seen instances and stories quite like Airbnb where people are using rental arbitrage or Airbnb arbitrage or whatever you want to call it. And they're renting and leasing these homes and condos and then subleasing them again for short. They're leasing for long-term, 12-month, 18-month, 24-month terms, and then they're doing short-term rentals to try to make money on Airbnb. But if you're doing this incorrectly, illegally, then you could find yourself in a situation like Halter where she gets arrested. But if what happens is if you ended up being the renter of this said property, you will ultimately be affected negatively by it because you'll have to vacate because of somebody else's wrongdoing above, the chain. In this situation, they are needing assistance with moving expenses like your deposit, your first month's rent, and even sometimes electric and utility costs. And that's the struggle right there, folks, because now is like a terrible time to be hit with one, having to immediately and abruptly move everything. Try to maintain your sanity, try to maintain your job and your income, but also try to cover these added costs. And odds are you're not going to be getting your deposits back from where you're moving from anytime soon, if ever. And, this is at a time where a large percentage of American people don't have $500 in their savings account to cover an emergency expense. And very few of the places that you could potentially go besides a hotel or motel or an inn or something like that, which would be extremely costly for a long-term rental basis, they're not going to let you use a credit card. Even if you had a credit card with an available balance, which is another alarming rate, which a lot of people now have their credit cards are maxed out at crazy high interest rates, average interest rates like 20% or something like that. They just don't have it. They're backed into a corner. In this situation, this is devastating for many people who have done nothing wrong. But ultimately, this is part of what I was telling you guys about the middle class just basically getting wiped out. And they're getting wiped out mathematically based on the average median income and where they fall whether it be within the 75 to 200% range of the median income. But in this particular situation, odds are typically mobile homes are typically towards the lower end of the spectrum as far as income bracket and income. And that would probably be more considered low income instead of the lower class instead of the middle class. So if the middle class is getting wiped out, then that means the lower class is going to be, I don't know. I think it's Euclid Beach mobile home community residents wonder what's next amid redevelopment plans. And they're not the only ones, because that's what's happening. This is a wave of mobile home, affordable housing, redevelopment, gentrification, eviction notices, and, just terrible situation for so many people who have been living in these places for years, decades, potentially looking to retire, if not having already retired. So then if you're on a fixed income and it's like, well, you got to move, well, those added costs and those increased monthly expenses don't fall within your fixed income retirement budget, because a lot of folks are operating on a retirement savings and not a retirement income plan. And if you don't have an income plan, then that means that you're literally just a ticking time bomb waiting to hopefully leave this earth before you run out of money. If that makes sense. Roughly 100 residents are facing displacement that would give them a year to a year and a half to relocate, which is actually pretty good, because a lot of folks, they're not getting that much time. They're getting like a month or two to get your stuff and go. And then these mobile home communities, what you have to do is you have to move your home. So then you have the cost of transportation. Do you have anywhere to take it, to put it? And then also, is it up to code for where you're going? Odds are probably not. So then do you dispose of it? Do you pay to bring it up to code? Do you have that in your budget to do that? Would it even survive the transportation, or would it be damaged and destroyed in transport? In December 2021, the Western Reserve Land Conservation or Conservancy purchased the 28-acre mobile home community, and Polensek described the infrastructure, and the infrastructure was described of the property as shot, and said that the cost to relocate some of the residents to a different section of the property rather than entirely displacing them wasn't financially feasible. So as these redevelopment plans come about, they're looking at it and they already know that it would be more financially responsible and profitable to just get rid of the problems than try to fix them. And then, Western Reserve Land Conservancy came in a rescue effort, thinking that somehow that they could reconfigure the park, relocate it. But again, at the end of the day, who's going to pay for that? They're not looking to invest in maintaining people who have potentially worked hard their entire lives to build this country. They're looking for ways to eliminate them, price them out of the game, charge more, make more money, increase their profits. Who's going to pay the millions of dollars to do the infrastructure? It would have to be passed on to the tenants that live in the park, and that's just not going to happen, because they don't have the money. They can't afford that. And this is what he's saying. So we got to figure out, working with outside agencies, what we can do to help the folks that are living there who wish to stay in the neighborhood. And they'll think about it, but there's really nothing they can do. The previous owner had mentioned an interest in selling the land, get this, without regard to what would be done to it, and that the residents would have been put out. Why? Because they don't care. They just want their money. They want to make money. They want to go on about their business. They want to sit Mai Tais on the beach, drink cocktails, 5 o'clock somewhere, and take that money, reinvest it somewhere else, retire off of that, enjoy the rest of their days, screw everybody else. And it says that they couldn't take the chance of someone coming in there and buying that and immediately starting an eviction process. But at the end of the day, that's what's more than likely going to happen for not just them, but for a variety of other conceivably affordable housing, low income, specifically mobile home parks. And you have opposition from city councils, town councils, developers, investors. You even have opposition from residents that just don't want it there anymore. They want their community to be, they want to eliminate the mobile home community, even though it doesn't necessarily really affect them personally, to have a developer come in and improve on the property. Why? How? To help increase their property values through appreciation and comps in the area from the improvements. Folks, I'm don't shoot the messenger, just sharing the news with you, sharing the information. This is why I have been saying for the past several years, I've always said that at the end of the day, you always have to make more money. And it's not about a matter of, only caring about money or worshiping money or whatever. It's just that there's so many other forces out there and oppositions against your money and your savings that if you're not continuously making more, then it's going to make things pretty difficult. I mean, it's going to be pretty tough. And what we're seeing right now is an accelerated plan of a economic collapse for some, and this financial reset, this great reset that very many people will feel the pain from that have not planned and prepared for it. So like I say, folks, make more money, spend less than you make, budget, eliminate debt, save and invest. That's going to be huge. Okay. That's going to be a big deal. And getting involved with that as early as possible is going to probably be your best bet. This is not financial advice. This is just me telling you what I see and what I've experienced and what the talks that I've been having with a lot of different people and a lot of different industries and a lot of different markets of what is likely to come, not even taking into consideration what is being planned within our government in Washington, lawmakers, the Fed, the IRS, Biden himself, and all signs point to recession. All signs point to higher prices. All signs point to, like Jerome Powell said, pain felt by businesses and families, jobs lost, unemployment on the rise. Bank of America CEO Brian Moynihan, other banks, Goldman Sachs, major experts and economists on Wall Street, all calling for the same. And these are the warning signs, folks. Unfortunately, yes, there are a vast array of major other distractions out there, from balloons flying overhead coming from China, the possible threats to NORAD, we've got the Nord Stream pipeline explosion, and who caused that. We've got the East Palestine, Norfolk Southern train derailment and toxic chemical burning in Ohio. The list goes on and on. We got Walmart closing stores, replacing employees with AI and technology, Amazon laying off employees, Google laying off employees. And interestingly enough, I came across a story this morning from Nick Nimmin, and he was talking about how a new lawsuit imposed could potentially wipe out YouTube, which is crazy. Unbelievable what's going on out there. So granted, these are other distractions, and I'm not saying to ignore them, but I am saying that, they could potentially take your eye off of the ball, and potentially what is more likely to affect people sooner rather than later. Granted, you could go out and prepare yourself for a possible nuclear attack. You could prepare yourself for an EMP attack. We saw JFK Airport had a massive power outage. Was that an EMP attack? But at the end of the day, more than likely what people are going to face is they're going to face a problem and a struggle on Friday. That Friday meaning when they get their paycheck. Not Friday when the FDIC says that the banks are going to shut down, which I don't know if you guys saw that video, but the FDIC said that banks would ultimately face a financial collapse on Friday. And then they would send out notifications for Friday so that people can panic over the weekend. But as the dollar collapses, mainly due to this fractional reserve banking, which was revamped during COVID, that allowed the banks to overextend themselves beyond how overextended they already were. But when you think about fractional reserve banking and how it works, and if you actually take 90 to 100% of a bank deposit, and then you're able to loan it out to another bank, then you've just created money that doesn't exist. That further perpetuates the problem. We can talk about that in another video. But at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. Even if you wanted to prepare yourself to move to a better home, a better community, even if you wanted to prepare yourself to buy what you needed to survive a nuclear attack, even if you wanted to prepare yourself to have the sustainable resources to, to maintain after an EMP strike, it still comes down to having the money to be able to do it. On top of battling the intense struggle of inflation, higher prices, higher gas and fuel prices, higher food prices, the list goes on and on. While we're heading into a recession, if not having already been in a recession. Everybody knows that you won't really know you're in a recession until you've been in a recession. So for folks to say that we're not in a recession yet or we're heading towards one, I don't know. It's kind of like we have to look back at the data to prove or disprove that. But at the end of the day, all signs point to higher prices, higher costs, higher inflation, a reduction of pay, reduction of jobs, reduction of work, and the need for people to continuously increase and earn more income to be able to just keep their head above water and maintain, let alone invest, survive, and thrive. And that's what I want for you guys. I want you to survive and thrive. I appreciate you guys watching. You guys take care, be safe, and I'll see you again real soon.